This is where Winnipeg's old Mother Tucker's restaurant used to be. This is where my story begins. My mom and dad, two young adults from Quezon City and Manila, met while they were working here after they immigrated with their families from the Philippines. They got married, and then I was born here in Winnipeg. I'm a Canadian. I speak the languages. I'm in the community, but I never really learned about the Filipino side of me, so I've only ever known half of who I am. You know me as Joanne Roberts. I call that my Canadian name. My real name from my parents is Joanne Fabro, but neither really feels like mine. So we're going on a journey to trace the threads through history, legacy, healing, and everything in between in hopes of finding a piece of my identity that's been missing a long time. John?
Hi, Joanne.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for coming.
Great.
So this is the Garment District.
Garment District, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, birthplace of the Filipino community.
I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't know there was a Garment District.
For a while, this was the Garment District where so much of the Filipino community started,
Really?
where some of the, first trailblazing women came, all started here.
So how do you know all of this?
A lot of the stories I get come from the people who have lived here.
Wow.
Lived here, worked here for a while.
So my parents came here separately. My dad's family is from Manila. My mom's family is from Quezon City.
Yes.
But I don't actually know too much about their immigration journeys. So what was it like for a lot of people?
Yeah, different generations have different questions, right? So your people in your position, you have that question, how did we end up here? Before 1967, immigration from the Philippines was actually barred, except on an ad hoc basis. There were laws that said people of Asian descent were not permitted to immigrate to Canada unless there were very specific circumstances.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, when we get into the 1960s and 70s and 80s, changes are also happening in the Philippines. Economic changes, social changes, political changes, and this is what's sort of driving people to look for opportunities abroad. Now, without knowing specifically about your parents, they probably had some skill, some labor skill that Canada saw and said, yeah, we would like that labor. Because that's exactly what happened with the garment workers, is that the women knew how to work machines, but how to work the modern sewing machines.
So was it this entire building block where the garment factories were?
From what I've heard, that the factories in this neighborhood were so dense that, if someone lost a job in the morning, they could have a job in the afternoon.
Okay, I can't help but notice that we are right near one of my favorite places in Winnipeg, Toad Hall Toys. Would this have been part of the garment industry?
There's various information that says both 70 Arthur and 54 Arthur, and I've come to learn that it's actually one building.
I actually know the people who are here at Toad Hall. Do you think we can, let's go in and see what happens? Yeah. Hi. I'm Joanne. This is John. We were walking around and we actually heard that Toad Hall used to be part of the Garment District. Do you know anything about that?
I do.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Can we talk about it?
Sure. Let's have a chat.
Sure.
The tin ceilings would have been here for sure when it was a garment factory. And the floor is still original, so that would have been here then. I've been told that when Toad Hall took over this space and renovated this space, that there was still the floors are wooden, and they were picking out by hand little needles and little bits of snaps and stuff from in between the cracks of the wood.
Do you think that it's possible that underneath these floors, there's still snaps and needles just sort of sealed underneath there?
Without a doubt. Yeah, I'm sure there are.
So before we got here to this space in the store, I did hear some chatter from the front, just sort of about what hiccup times were like for the women that worked here. Can you tell me about that?
Like when Toad Hall was here and the garment factory was still here, because they did overlap, that a lot of the women would get picked up from the factory by their husbands or boyfriends who were really into car culture. And so lots of really cool cars would come and pick up their wives and girlfriends.
Yeah, so things don't change.
Nope.
Yeah.
Stay the same.
I think it's really cool just sort of how full circle like this specific place has come for me. So like my very first like mentioning of Toad Hall was my elementary school teacher who had bought a puppet here, and like she would like sing songs with us with this puppet, and she told me it was Toad Hall. And then so finally I came here for the first time as a teenager, and just fell in love with it, and obviously still come here. I still do stories here.
Yeah.
And yeah, now hearing from you that this is
Yeah.
part of Filipinos history here
Yeah.
in Winnipeg, that's like,
It's funny how it's coming back to your youth.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And I'm
Yes.
thinking about, you know, all of the pins and needles
Yeah.
and all that that's still under the floor.
Yeah. And you know those Filipino youth looking for their background, you know, even when you're adults, it's looking for that childhood, right? That childhood, knowing where you come from, knowing what it means. And I mean, for those born in Canada, you know, they're from Canada, they're born in Canada, but that Filipino heritage, it's there. It's in the floorboards.
Yeah, and thanks so much for sharing it with me. It feels like, I don't know, I've been looking for this second half of me that's not totally Canadian, not totally Filipino. So this, yeah, I think every time I
Yeah.
come here now is gonna feel very different.
Yeah, and you know, it just tells us that identity, like you said, both Canadian, both Filipino, it means different things for different people. So there's no right answer for you to find. Right? It's whatever you find is what the answer is.
Amazing. Shall I head back outside? Thank you so much for meeting me here and talking me through everything. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, starting this journey and looking for a part of my identity that feels like it's been missing, feels like this was a great start. So
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing with me.
It's one thing to know where you come from. It's another to understand what that history still holds inside you. I'm Joanne Roberts, and I'm a storyteller, the daughter of immigrants, a Filipino Canadian. But underneath that, and I think for many people like me, there's something we don't speak about very often, but passed down anyway. My parents learned how to survive, but no one taught me how to belong.
Hi.
Nice to meet you. Thank you. Oh my goodness, it's so nice to finally see you for the first time. Can I?
Ooh.
So you and I have known each other for a little while, but we've never actually like connected. This is the first time I'm seeing you face to face, even though I've wanted to work with you for a very, very long time. Can you tell me what you do for work?
I am a sexologist. And as a sexologist, I do actually multiple things. I am a community-based researcher. I'm also a clinical therapist that focuses on human sexuality issues or sex therapy. I'm not sure if I told you, I also work at Ganaganichuk. So they brought me on as their consultant to the Cookums and the elders.
I knew growing up that I wanted to change my name, and that's, because we had a very difficult family life. And I think I just wanted to disassociate from that. And I noticed that, Malone is not necessarily like a Filipino or Spanish name either. And I was wondering what your history was for that.
My name is my partner's or my spouse's name that I took. And I did it for multiple reasons. And so I had to really reconcile legacies that my family held with their own internalized racism that was accidentally passed on to me, which was not their intention. It's now my responsibility by naming it to be very intentional with my choices when it comes to my identity, so that I'm in relationship with my history and in relationship with who I am as an authentic being.
For people that don't know what internalized racism is, can you give us just a bit of a cliff note as to what you mean when you say that?
Internalized racism is a concept in which we may be exposed to all forms of discrimination that may be race-based, whether it be because of the color of our skin or ethnicity and culture, and we often are, in a very deliberate and unconscious level, are exposed to all kinds of discrimination. And when somebody experiences it over time, they might start to believe that. So I am born in Altona, Manitoba, which is a Mennonite community. We were one of the few families of color that were there. And I don't even remember growing up in my formative years with any people of color around me, never mind Filipinos. And that being said, in my experience, my family did not teach me any of the dialects, any of our history, any of our culture, didn't expose me to traditional foods or textiles. And so when I remember my mother um, laying with me when I was a young person, I think I was around 6 or 7 years old, and she said to me, I don't, I understand where she comes from, but she said to me how important it was for me and the family to blend. We want to feel a sense of inclusion and we want to feel safe. And when that is not there, and this is a very human need, that we may give up parts of ourselves in order to fit in and feel that sense of belonging. Because being othered has mental health consequences and cultural implications as well. All of that in combination, I mean, that's part of the language of shame. I'm not good enough unless. And don't go there because that's too risky. But I can't speak about it because I don't have the tools to do it. And I just need to keep it together. I need to keep it together and navigate all this in a culture that where we don't talk about this. And that's hard.
That was literally the experience that I had growing up. I remember being in a huge fight with my dad, who's like no longer here, but really wanting to talk about why we were so angry at each other. And there, we were standing in the kitchen. I think I was 17, and I just said, "Why can't we talk about it?" And he looked at me, and we had been shouting at each other.
Yeah.
And then the moment, just his voice dropped, and he just said, "We're Filipino when we don't talk about it," and that like is burned into my memory.
We do need to catch up, in terms of really thinking about what tools do we need to have these vulnerable conversations. I don't accept it anymore that we're Filipino, we don't go there. I cannot. I reject it. It was one of the reasons why I'm not close with my family of origin. We don't have the tools to say I'm sorry in a way that is deeply meaningful. We don't have the tools to hold space for one another and what that means, and to feel empathy in a different kind of way. It's empathy, but it's empathy with a roadblock and a barrier.
Conditions. So that gets me kind of emotional
Yeah.
because growing up in my family, we never apologized to each other.
I was going to ask you,
Yeah.
did your family ever apologize?
No, they didn't. So like my dad and I had that scream, and that was a normal thing. We went at each other quite often because I think we're very similar, like strong-willed and strong-minded
Yeah.
people. I would hurt his feelings, and I wouldn't apologize, and neither would he. So
Yeah. If Filipinos, Filipinas, Filipinx folks are not seen and not given the tools to, yeah, we could see this happening.
I think that is sort of like my own legacy that I'm carrying forward is even in daily interactions. I'm okay with differing opinions, but if somebody doesn't take the time to truly understand where I'm coming from and the different needs that I have in terms of, positive interactions and demonstrating how we respect each other, it's a huge point of contention for me and really dictates the relationships that I have today.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things I think is going to be helpful for us as Filipinos is to give ourselves permission to lean in to the other and hold our truth and be grounded by it, but approach one another with curiosity.
For people that are going to be watching this, what are you sort of hoping that they take away from, this conversation that we've had?
That vulnerability is a strength that we need to lean into. It's not a weakness, it's part of our humanity. And that we find the courage to reach out to each other, including myself, even though we've endured a lot of pain and struggle, and that we connect with one another to acknowledge our own grief our collective grief, and so that together and individually we could find closure.
I'm Joanne Roberts, and we are on a journey of connection. I have questions about my name, who I am, and about the parts of my culture that feel out of reach. When I think about being part Canadian, I think about who this land belonged to first, our Indigenous, First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. Maybe this part is letting someone else lead, someone who's walked the long road of remembering and reclaiming.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Gosh, good. How are you?
Good. Nice
So
to see you. Come on in.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
At least we didn't miss the high five.
That's true. For people that watched my last special, you were featured at the Manitoba Pawa, which was really cool to just like follow you.
Thank you.
Yeah. How's it been sort of since then?
It's just been beautiful. It's just life now.
We talk about like our little people, younger Kristen, younger Joanne, and I actually like just this morning dug out this photo of tiny Joanne.
Oh my goodness.
I know, right? Still loves pink and is still really dramatic. So it's nice to see that some things have changed.
So beautiful. I love that.
Sort of during this special, I've been, thinking a lot about history and legacy. And so that's why I really wanted to talk to you. I know that you and I have, shared personal conversations about, hardships and difficulties that everybody goes through. And what I really love about you is that you're so focused on healing. So in terms of sort of reclaiming your identity, what was that journey like for you?
Well, it was like a beautiful passageway, but it was very difficult. So for me, I moved to Winnipeg when I was 18. I was very fortunate to find culture, and it was almost like as if the culture found me.
When we talk about reclaiming, it also implies that there is loss. But what I never actually had was just like my family, like sitting down for dinner. So I remember like birthdays growing up. They were like, "What do you want?" I was like, "Let's just like make Filipino spaghetti and like let's sit and just have dinner." But inevitably life always called. They would have to go to work. So I never actually got that like personal family feast. And life has gone on, and I don't think that that's like in the cards for me.
What was shared with me in ceremony was that to understand, that grief and that loss, that stays within us. Those members of our family that they journey, they go ahead of us. They live in our mind and they live in our hearts, right? Because we have memories of them. So we could visit them here anytime we want. We have love for them here. We know that love. We can visit that anytime we want. So they ask us, feast us. But what they're really asking, feast you, because you're still the vessel, you're still the human, you're still here. So that honoring that we give to them, that's their gift to us. So we still practice that. We still honor them. Do you want me to let it sponge? Are you okay?
Oh yeah, can we do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So now you got to make him Filipino spaghetti, right?
Yeah, totally. So this entire sort of journey for me has been to find some new form of identity, a name. I know that in a lot of different cultures, including yours, names are not just given to a person. There's a lot of meaning behind it. Can you tell me just about what names and spirit names really mean to you?
Well, they shared this with me, like in ceremony, that our grandparents and our families, they often gift us our first spirit name. So when you're in a family of Indigenous, there's always those nicknames, and that's what it really is. It's your first official spirit name, but it comes from your families. So my grandparents gifted me the nickname Kitchiakwe, which means it means like grand woman, like big woman, great woman. So when my grandparents gifted me that name, it took me into my adult life to understand who Kechiakwe was.
Is there any sort of name or something that has come into mind just sort of as you and I have been talking about this?
I did say some prayers and I did ask Spirit, and not long after, like, a dragonfly came. So that dragonfly in our culture, it represents our ancestors. So that message that comes from Creator, it's delivered by the dragonfly. And it was more of an identity to your work and what you do, that message that you share, those stories you get to tell. You go right to community to share that. So that was what came to me when you asked me.
I love you so much.
I
Thank
love
you
you
for doing
too,
it.
Joanne.